Today I'm going to explain a comedy and romance film, Bubble Boy. Released in the year 2001. Let's get started. A little baby named Jimmy is born without immunities, which means that any small germ can kill him. For this reason, he is destined to live the rest of his life in disinfected plastic bubbles. At the age of 4, he only got to know his home. His mom didn't let him have friends, always overprotecting him in everything. His parents prepared him a totally plastic room, with a big bubble inside with retractable arms. He was raised by his mother, who isolated him from everyone, but he saw it as something normal and even cute. At 16 he was given a guitar, but he still knew about the world only what his very religious, strict, and closed-minded mother had taught him. While playing the guitar, he would look out the window and see his neighbor, Chloe. Day after day he watched her and felt attracted to her. One day Chloe's friends drive her home and tell her that he lives next door to the Bubble Boy. Amidst her rumors, jokes, and criticism from them, she defends him. These comments make her curious, so she decides to knock on her neighbor's door. Her father answers, but he ignores her, concentrating on the jokes he was reading in a magazine. Chloe passes inside the house, looking at the large ventilation pipes leading to Jimmy's room. She starts to follow them until she reaches Jimmy's room. Just as he arrives, he sees him fall over while playing over his favorite movie but is distracted by looking at Chloe's breasts. She smiles, understanding the game because it was also her favorite movie. Jimmy introduces himself, and before Chloe does, he steps forward, saying that his mom taught him that she was called Chloe the neighbor slut. She, far from being offended, tells him that he's wrong because more than a harlot she's a witch. But Jimmy is not able to understand her sarcasm. Chloe is surprised by the guitar and tells Jimmy that she would come back the next day to teach him how to play it. They began to spend time together, sunbathing from the window, laughing, playing, dancing, getting haircuts, and dressing up. On his birthday, completely drunk, Chloe enters Jimmy's room through the window and tries to enter his bubble through the food door, saying that all she wanted on that birthday was to be with him. She kept insisting until, just before giving herself a kiss through the glass, she falls asleep. After that, the days passed and Chloe's graduation day arrived. Jimmy was happy for her, but he had to watch another boy come for her. Eventually, Mark, the obnoxious and petulant prom boy, becomes Chloe's boyfriend. After a while, Chloe tells Jimmy that Mark asked her to marry him, and she wanted to know his opinion. On top of that, she brought a gift to her precious friend. However, Jimmy angrily ignores her and the gift. Chloe says goodbye to him, and once he left, Jimmy opens the gift and sees that it is a crystal ball that says "I love you," regretting his attitude. So begins Jimmy's plan to create a bubble suit to go find Chloe and avoid her marriage in Niagara Falls. Already equipped, he leaves his house, but from the beginning, he begins to have complications. First, on his way down the stairs, he falls down the stairs without being able to control himself. Once on his feet, he wanted to go out the door, but his bubble would not go through. After forcing it, he managed to get through, falling on the lawn of his yard. Once outside, he began his journey. He ran until he found a bus stop, but when he wanted to buy the ticket, he didn't know that his few coins were not enough to pay for it. Walking down the road, Jimmy gets in a van with a strange group of people. At home, his mother goes to Jimmy's room, when she realizes that he is not there, letting out a desperate scream. The people in the van begin to tell him about the leader they have and the community they belong to. However, in his innocence, Jimmy claims to them that they are a cult and they throw him off the bus in the middle of the desert. On the other hand, Jimmy's parents start a search to find him. In the middle of the street, Jimmy meets a tough biker who was stranded in the middle of the desert and offers him patches from his bubble to help him repair his tire. Elsewhere, the cult meets their prophet, who in a large meeting announces that the next chosen one to lead them to salvation was a man inside a bubble. At that, the van group remembers Jimmy, and they set off to find him. Helping the biker, Jimmy tells him why he wants to go to Niagara Falls, and he empathizes with him and decides to take him on his motorcycle. In the evening, they arrive in Las Vegas and head to a casino to gamble and get money to continue the trip. Jimmy is encouraged to gamble, but loses, so the biker goes to steal wallets to continue gambling. But Jimmy couldn't wait any longer, so he steals a skateboard that was being raffled, and leaves. On his way back, the biker looks for him worriedly in the street, when he finds the cult's van, threatens them for having left his friend in the middle of the desert, and starts chasing them. Walking down the road, Jimmy surprisingly meets his parents, who are frightened to see him and crash into him, throwing him over a cliff. Fortunately, however, Jimmy falls into a train. When he wakes up, he sees strange people around him looking at him intently. They begin to tell him to shut up so that the weird doctor won't find them. They were a bunch of carnival freaks, and the weird doctor was their master. In the midst of the confusion, the train slows down and Jimmy falls out of the car, encountering the weird doctor, who is a tiny little person. Jimmy makes fun of his height, earning a couple of punches. They start arguing and, accidentally pushing him with his bubble, he throws him against a wall and knocks him out. Taking advantage of that moment, he flees and leaves. The artists start to follow him, but he tells them he had to do this alone, and they respect his decision and take their course. With a railroad cart he manages to keep moving until he reaches a food place full of peasants. He starts to hitch a ride, but he hears that they were making fun of a Hindu man, and Jimmy defends him. The villagers confront him, but in their clumsiness, they thought he had a contagious disease, and they all flee the place, leaving him locked in the restaurant. People inadvertently throw a bottle of alcohol when closing the doors, causing a big fire in the place. Jimmy was looking for a way out until the Hindu he defended opened a back door for him to escape, and also tells him that he could help him. He gets him into his truck, running away from the huge explosion that the fire causes. Jimmy's parents arrive to meet the train their son fell into, and ask the strange doctor about him, but he, stunned, could not give them any answers. The Hindu says that, since he defended him in the restaurant, karma obliged him to help him, and offers to take him to the falls. Meanwhile, Chloe is at home watching the movie they liked with Jimmy when a call from her friend's mother comes as a surprise. She blamed her for her son's escape and cut the call short without the girl being able to say anything. Jimmy's parents wait at a station next to the weird doctor to hear from Jimmy or the artists when they hear noises and realize that the artists were stealing Jimmy's parents' car. This is how this trio, helped by the doctor, steals a van to go on their way. Jimmy has a nightmare and wakes up screaming, causing the Hindu to accidentally hit a cow. Crying, the Hindu tells him that he sinned against his goddess, and Jimmy, in an attempt to console him, tells him that his religion is nonsense and that he shouldn't worry. Angrily, the Hindu throws him out, as he sits surrounding the corpse of the cow with flowers. The motorcyclist, followed by a large troop, interrogates the Hindu, who is sitting next to the corpse of the cow, as to whether he saw the van of the sect. On being told no. As she prepares for her wedding, Chloe confesses to her sister-in-law that although she wanted a relationship with Jimmy, she thought it wouldn't work out, but she regretted it. Already at night, Jimmy was still walking through the desert until he reached a town where he asks for a cab, but the taxi tells him that he needed $500 to take him. Looking for a way to get the money, Jimmy goes into a bar where they gave you exactly that amount in exchange for competing in challenges. Jimmy accepted, and mud wrestled with women in bikinis, emerging victorious from the match and taking the money. However, as he was heading for the cab, the cult van intercepted him. They held him down and took him away so they could release him from the bubble. As he was being taken down the street, he was spotted by the freak artists in the car, who decided to come to his rescue. They pretended to be people from the cult, frightened the group, and took Jimmy. When the costumed artists were taking Jimmy away, the bikers arrived and started to fight all against all, artists, bikers, and cultists. In the middle of the confusion, Jimmy took the opportunity to get into the cab and run away. While he was on his way to Niagara, in the cab driven by an old man named Poppy, everyone followed him. The next morning, when Jimmy woke up, he realized that Daddy had fallen asleep or dead, and with a swerve, he fell onto the road. He got up and went to a store where he called Chloe to let her know he was coming, but Mark was the one who answered, saying very hurtful things to get rid of him. Jimmy hangs up and decides to call the weird doctor, to propose himself as a freak for the fair, but his mom is the one who answered his call, and that's how they managed to reach him. His parents show up, but before heading home, his mom goes to the bathroom. While they are alone, his dad tries to chat with him. Looking at his son's face, he decides to let him go on his way and achieve what he fought so hard for. The mother, seeing him leave, chases after him again, but is joined by the cult's van, the artist's car, and the biker's ice cream cart. He was running from everyone when a small plane takes him up with it. When he saw the aviator, he thought it was Poppy, the old man from the cab. But it was actually Pippi, his twin brother. The plane flies over Niagara Falls and spots the church, but when they wanted to land, Pippi falls asleep and Jimmy falls into the falls. After diving into the water, the bubble manages to float away with Jimmy intact. Jimmy was running full speed to get to the wedding, as the bride and groom started with the I do's. Before Chloe could say it, Jimmy intervenes. Chloe runs over to where he was standing, looking at him in amazement. Jimmy decides to come out of his bubble to kiss Chloe. However, after the kiss, Jimmy collapses, just as everyone arrives at the church. When everything looked like tears, the dad forces the mom to tell him the truth, and she confesses that Jimmy developed immunity at age 4, but couldn't let the world ruin him. Jimmy stands up, but even though she cheated on him for so many years, he hugs his mom and says he loves her, then goes and hugs Chloe, forgetting that his pants had been left inside the bubble. Chloe and Jimmy get married, accompanied by the Hindu, the cultists who now follow him, the Chinese from the dollar competition, the artists, the weird doctor, the bikers, and his parents. Even their wedding carriage is driven by the brothers, Pippi and Poppy. The end. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new movie recaps.